Okay, so I thought I'd do a quick lesson on the altered scale and how you can start using it in your playing. So this is going to be a really sort of simple, basic introduction to it. The backing track I just used at the start was by Quist, I think his name is. He does a shed ton of backing tracks, really, really good, worth checking him out. So, what is the altered scale? Well, firstly, I should say what that backing track was. So, it's a C minor, C minor 7 I think, or a 9, I can't remember, C minor 7, say, and then it goes to a G altered scale, sorry, G altered chord, which in this case is the G7 sharp 5. So if you haven't come across that before, don't be alarmed, I'm going to explain. So the key of the track, okay, I've done a little loop here of that same chord progression. I've taken the backing track out and just looped 2 chords in Logic so you can really hear in a second what I do. So in the key, which is C minor, so over the what we call the 1 chord, okay, so this is the 1 chord, I'm playing C natural minor, C Dorian, C melodic minor as well you could play, before it goes to the G7 altered, or G altered, which I would be playing the altered scale over. So you have to change scales, okay? You could stay in C minor pentatonic and stuff like that, but it's really good to target that chord, and if you're not used to playing over any changes, this is a good way to start because it's 2 chords, and it's a really good training way and a fretboard visualization thing to be able to change scales and see chord tones over those changes as well. So, like I say, over the C minor, I'm thinking C minor pentatonic, C Dorian, C melodic minor, etc. Over this chord, this is where you would change, and I'm thinking the G altered scale, okay? So what that is, so let me explain first actually what a G altered chord is. So this is going from the 1 to the 5 chord, okay? So G is my 5 of C. So when you get a 5 to 1 movement, okay, in music, it's the perfect opportunity, especially when you've got a dominant 5 chord like we have here. It's the perfect opportunity to play an altered scale or some kind of tension and release, because then it releases back to the 1 chord. There is other things you can use on that 5 chord. Obviously we can use some dominant Phrygian and diminished ideas, but in this case I just want to look at the altered scale. So we have a G7 altered or a G altered. In this case it's a G7 sharp 5. Okay, so that means the 5 has been sharpened in the chord. So we need to know what is in a G7 chord first of all. We have a 1, a 3, a 5, a flat 7. So that's your G7 chord. And that's the arpeggio. It goes without saying you should know your arpeggios for every chord, okay? So a G7, if I play the chord, here's my G7, so I have a 1, I have a flat 7, I have a 3, my natural 3, and my 5. But we're doing this, we've sharpened the 5, okay, to get that tension. So my 5 has now become a sharp 5, okay? So my D becomes a D sharp. I'm not thinking note names, I'm thinking the interval, okay? And I will be doing a lesson on this, how it's the best way to thinking numbers, okay? So, over the G7 chord, it's a perfect opportunity to play the altered scale. So if I play it first, then I'll explain it. So, what intervals, or what is contained within the altered scale? It's a 1, flat 9, sharp 9, natural 3, flat 5, sorry, sharp 5, flat 7, and then I'm back to my root. Okay, so the altered scale contains, if you listen then, it's got a flat 9, a sharp 9, a flat 5, and a sharp 5. So anytime we see a chord, say in this case G7 sharp 5, G7 flat 5, G7 flat 9, G7 sharp 9. We can play the altered scale, or even just a standard G7 chord. If we want to bring that tension in, we can play the scale even though the altered notes aren't in the chord itself. So in this case we've got G7 sharp 5. Okay, there's no flat 9, but we can still play the flat 9 in the scale itself to give that tension. Okay. So it's a really nice place to play it and then resolve it to the C. So I've just looped the backing track here, which goes C minor 7 to G7 sharp 5. So with the C minor, like I said, I'm just thinking C pentatonic, C minor pentatonic that is, C natural minor, C Dorian you can play, and also C melodic minor as well. But over the G7 I'm going to play G altered. Okay, so I'm going to be really straight with my playing here, just so you can hear it. So C minor first. Altered. Back to C minor. Altered. Back to C minor. So you can hear where the change is, right? And the key to this is when it comes back to that C minor, sorry I'm getting pinged here. When it comes back to C minor, you have to be able to resolve it, because if you stay in that altered chord, in that altered scale, if you don't resolve it back to when it changes back to the one chord, it's going to sound off and it's going to sound crap. So you need to really resolve it. So I'm just going to be, I'll play a bit more freer now, just so you can hear. And I'm just going to stick to this position. Notice I haven't moved from this position. It's really important that you know, obviously, the scale around the neck. So I know the G altered here, but I also, you know it everywhere. That's okay. Goes without saying that you need to do that for your natural minor, your Dorian, your everything. Okay, because that's going to really give you a good advantage around the neck. So yeah, I'll just be playing a bit more free now, and I'm going to keep to this position. Okay, so you could hear it then on the change. It's a bit more free flowing. But when you start, what I would do is just target your chord tones of, say, C minor in this position. So I'm thinking 1 flat 3 5, 1 flat 3 5, flat 7. Okay, and then on the G altered, you know, because I'm thinking G, just think maybe just hit the thirds of G to start with, and that's a really good place to hear that tension of where the chord is. And then you can also add in, you know, the third of G and maybe have the flat 9 in there, and the root maybe. So, but just really keep it simple. So over the C, I'm going to maybe just use the chord tones. So over the C minor, then over the G, I'm just going to maybe target the third of G first of all, and then I can start adding in the sharp 5 or the flat 9. So I'm playing really sort of simple here, really minimalistic. So that is my flat 5, then back to the 1, C, third of G, but I don't want to do that today. So, last thing before I go. Another way you can look at the G altered scale is it's a melodic minor. It's the 7th mode of the melodic minor modes. So, little tip. This is a good way to start learning it, but I would advise you not to think of it this way so much. And I'll explain in a minute. If you take a G, where we're playing G altered, you move up 1 fret and play a melodic minor scale. So in this case, if I'm playing a G, move it up 1 fret. This would be an A flat melodic minor. Okay? That's what you can think of it as, but I'm not thinking against the A flat. You really want to think of it against the G, okay? Because, you know, for example, if I'm playing here, if I'm thinking against the A flat, so this note here, which is the 3rd of G, okay, that is my flat 3, isn't it, against the A flat? So I'm not thinking that. I still want to think of it as the 3rd of G, not the flat 3 of A flat, if that makes sense. So it's really important that you look at it against the root of the chord being played. So in this case, the G. Okay. So C minor, G altered. So you can even hear without the chords being played there, you can hear where that changes. So yeah, so C natural minor, and then over the G altered chord, I'm playing G altered scale. Like I say, it doesn't have to be an altered chord. You can still play C minor 7. To just a straight G7 chord. It doesn't matter. You can still add the alterations of the scale in, i.e. flat 5, sharp 5, flat 9, sharp 9. Have a go at that. Let me know if all that makes sense, because it can be a confusing topic, but you might have to rewatch this video and just listen back a few times to understand it. Please subscribe, please write a comment, please like it, please share it, please do what you can do to help. But as I really enjoy giving the lessons, and I hope you enjoy listening. So take care, have a good Friday.